Hey, everybody. Welcome to Snapdown Wrestling. I'm your host, Tommy Lynch. We have a great show tonight. We have some coaches from all over the league, and we're just going to be talking about what went on this week. It was the first, the past week was the first week of competition. We were all gearing up for it, all ready for it, all looking to win, all just really happy that we are having a season right now at all. Lots of things going on in the state, in the world, in the country, with Rhode Island kind of easing back on the masks. If you're vaccinated, you can certain places you can go into with no masks if you're vaccinated, and lots of that stuff going on. It's kind of amazing. It's long overdue. Some places are going back to 100% capacity. It's an exciting time, and wrestling is smack dab in the middle of it. And we kind of foresaw this coming with just pushing the season back as far as we could, which was spring 2. Now, good and bad about that. One, okay, we pushed it back and it didn't get canceled, so we have it going on. That's the good. The bad part is we're competing with lacrosse, baseball, and track. And myself have lost at least 5 starters, along with, probably another dozen of my wrestling team from last year, which is okay. Believe me, I'm not complaining. We have a season, and we're all happy about that and excited about that. But, we're intruding on a season that's not ours. It's the spring season. It's lacrosse. It's baseball. It's track. It's all that. And we kind of left kids up to have some choices or be dual sport athletes, which is very tough. End of the year, some people are still distance learning. It's a lot to ask of a student, of an athlete, of anybody. And we're kind of put in a position to where we are just going with what we've got. Some of us more than others. Some of us really, this has kind of leveled teams. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Kind of co-hosting with me tonight is my assistant coach, Nunzio Riccio. He came on board last year, and I wrestled with Nunzio way back, all over the country, years and years ago, not to date myself, but, always, wrestling the regular season and then going right into the summer freestyle season and wrestling as much as we could there. And he went on to wrestle independently and wrestle for military. So he's got quite a background, and we're thankful to have him, kind of a switch off as far as he is a Hope alumni, came to us, and one of our 4-time state champions in Sean Giblin ended up going and coaching over at Hope. So kind of a switch off there. So German all the time says something, but I don't want to hear it. But without further ado, let's bring Nunzio up into the scene and start talking shop. Hey, Nunzio.
Hey, what's up, Tommy?
How you doing? Let's get that volume up a little bit.
You hear me? Is that good?
Yeah. Okay, so Nunzio, you've been in the practice room. You're seeing what's going on, and there's good and bad, obviously. What's your take on everything that's going on right now?
So far, so good. It's thanks to we had to lose a bunch of guys, but it is what it is. At least we have a season. I've been anxious to find out all season whether we were going to have one or not. It was great that we pulled through together, and we're having it. The feeling in the room is you can tell a lot of the guys are back to be at it. I'm back to be at. I'm back. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. It's great to have you in the room, and working with the heavier guys, and putting all that together. We're missing a few of those guys this year that we would like to have. Ethan Nunziata, you mentioned, as one of them, but we're without a heavyweight this year, but we're working on it. I think we're going to have a heavyweight this week, so he'll have to go through, obviously.
Getting these guys going. The last meet match we had Zoom meet against Hope and Cumberland. That the big guys did pretty good. I was pretty proud of them.
Yeah, we went out there in our match, and we we gave up what, 2 forfeits,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. I mean, that was because of the lack of experience, I guess, and then people leaving, those guys leaving. It's tough.
Yeah, trying to fill the whole roster was just very difficult for us this year. We had it filled, with some great guys, especially some very experienced wrestlers. But there's a couple of holes there, which cost us our matches on Thursday night against Hope and Cumberland. I mean, we went 0-2. We could have gone 2-0. They had it put together very well, and we lost 45-33 to Hope, and we lost 40-39 to Cumberland. I know they had it listed as 41-39, but that wasn't really the case because they had a team point taken away from them for unsportsmanlike conduct. So we have to take that into consideration there. Colin, when you're putting in the scores, let's not forget about the sometimes you get hit with a point, and that has to go in there as well. It's just not for show for the scoreboard. It's actually the score. But 41-39, 40-39, doesn't matter. We still ended up taking the L on that one. But the kids wrestled tough, and they showed us a lot. They showed us a lot of what we've done well, and they've showed us a lot of what we need to work on, which is what all the first week of competition is about.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I can hear you much better now. Before there was an echo. I couldn't really hear you. My showrunner tonight, Nick LeBlanc, worked some of his magic with working the board. So we got you back on full volume. Can everybody else hear us okay? Give us a thumbs up if you can on the panel. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Glenn. And with us tonight on the show that we're going to be bringing up very soon when we come back from commercial break is head coach Rob Razzo from LaSalle and head coach Glenn Castilla from Cranston East. But we're going to take a break in just a minute here, and we'll be right back at you. This is Tommy Lynch with Snapdown Wrestling, and we'll be right back with you in just about a minute.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, welcome back to Snapdown Wrestling. I'm here with Nunzio Riccio, my assistant coach at Cranston West, and we are talking first week of wrestling. A lot of wrestling happened this week. Some upsets. There's some questions to be answered. Everybody wants to know what's going on across the board, across the league, and we're here to hopefully do that for you. If you have any questions during the broadcast, please don't hesitate to send us a little message and we will try to answer that for you here, or just give me a call. If you got my number, give me a call. I'll put you live on the air on speaker. I don't care. You know how I roll. So, right. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? We're here with Nunzio. Like I said, we also have Rob Razzo and Glenn Castilla with us from LaSalle and Cranston East, my old alma mater. So let's bring them up from the lounge into the conversation. The more the merrier. Hey, Glenn, how are you?
How we doing, guys?
Very good. Rob, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How's it going, Coach? How's it going, everybody?
It's going good. It's going good. We have a season, so actually I guess it's going great. Could it be better? Yes. Could it be worse? Yes. We could not have a season. Again, I have to keep saying that because it was so close for us to not be where we are right now. So, we have to do the right things, first off. In the room, everybody's masked up. Let's just talk about that. How'd that go for you? Because one of the guidelines is that our wrestlers have to be masked. And let me tell you something, it definitely affected us. Now, normally for the first round of competition leading into a season, which is usually the South County tournament for us, the Wilson Cup, guys are gassing.
No, yeah.
Guys were nearly passing out. But I'm exaggerating there, but you could definitely see that it was very difficult. I mean, for me, when I'm explaining a move and have the mask on, I start to get wind. So I can imagine wrestling full go, full match, full 6 minutes. What did it look like for you guys?
I think it's kind of like waterboard treatment for them a little bit. I had a kid who was really sweaty, and his mask, they have to wear those surgical masks and everything right now. And he took a deep breath in, and I saw it like kind of get sucked in on him because he was so sweaty, and the mask kind of was just getting wet and all that. And it's like I felt really bad for him. I'm like, wow, I can't imagine dealing with this obstacle.
Right.
Yeah. I had a little bit of an idea. I just came off coaching football at Smithfield. And so I at least was slightly prepared, I guess, maybe a little bit more than the kids. But I know, Tommy, you were saying earlier that it gets tough when you're trying to coach and you're trying to teach and you feel yourself kind of winded a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what the kids were going through. And we opened up at East Providence last week. And, I have one of my wrestlers who's in very good shape. He's been wrestling all off season, the whole thing, and he was gassed. And I just said, how did it go? And he said it's tougher, than I thought for sure. So it's an adjustment.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's very difficult to do that. So that being said, things change week to week, day to day, and this has been going on the whole time that we were waiting to hear if we have a season or not. So if things were changing week to week, day to day, then what about now? Okay. One, the kids are getting tested before they leave to get onto the bus. They're doing the Binex rapid test and coming back negative. Okay. So if you got everybody coming back negative, and you're cleaning the mask between each match, do you think there's actually even a need for the masks? Or is this just a pill? What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a need for it. We're doing all that, I think we'll be fine.
Rob?
If you look at, there's been wrestling hasn't stopped realistically. It's the state of Rhode Island, and however they decided to realign sports this year. I'm glad that they were able to do it so we could get seasons. We were lucky we got that season off last year in the New Englands. But if you look right after the New Englands, kids were traveling. As soon as the pandemic really hit, it wasn't too long after that the New England tournament that guys were traveling. And some kids that started with masks, but you could look at tournaments that were out west, Midwest, down south, and you see plenty of pictures. Nobody wrestled with masks on, and there were a few tournaments that we heard some unfortunate news from, getting some positivity rates to increase, but for the most part, we didn't really hear much of that, And excuse me if I do cough. Allergy season is amongst us, so I have to
Horrible.
be very clear about that with everybody. It's just allergies, But,
Right. No. We see it on our cars every morning. We know, and I feel it every day as well with the itchy eyes and all that. It's just horrible this year, especially. So, Glenn, what are your thoughts on it? What's your
I mean, I think with the testing and the cleaning and the the sterilizer that we both have, and
yes, we do.
I think it's I think it's a pretty safe environment. It's also as we mentioned earlier, I have unfortunately some low numbers this year, so it's definitely easier to keep track of things and keep those odds and all that stuff. And so it's I guess with as far as keeping the masks, I would imagine that most administrators and leadership kind of want to keep it status quo. And but yeah, like you guys said, I mean, at the same time, this has been going on for a while now, and I think it's been managed pretty well. So and now to take it the next step with the testing, the rapid and everything, I think it's been pretty safe.
Yeah. So you said your numbers are low. How low are we talking?
We're talking really low.
Okay.
We're talking, roughly. Well, we had 3 compete last week. We had a try meet with EP and Classical, and we only had 3 wrestlers. We did have a wrestler come back who had just come off quarantine. I guess 2 of his family members had tested positive, so he was home from school, the whole deal. So he lost like the first 2 weeks of the season just due to quarantine. So he's supposed to be joining us. So I guess we'll be up to 4, but it's kind of tough sledding right now on that side of the city for sure. Hopefully we can persevere and get these numbers back up next year. Kind of be back where we left off last year, the end of the 20 season.
Yeah, this is definitely given the sport, more than a black eye. It's definitely, the numbers across the board are down. Teams that are usually up, like just loaded or not. To give an example of that, Cranston West last season, I started with 60. There was a cut process due to lack of enthusiasm or no call, no show. Obviously, those get weeded out right away within the first 2 weeks. And then the ones that can't hack it, don't want to do it, the workouts are too tough for them, whatever. There was another 5 to 8 in there. But I finished the season, and the ones that become ineligible and flunk off. But I finished the season with 44 on the team. This year, I'm fortunate to have right around 26 on the team, and we still have holes because there's a lot of bulges, in that middle area, and in the lighter areas, there's some very thin, and in the heavy areas, it's very thin. But I mean, compared to 3 and 4, that's just wow. That's a real hit, on something you've been trying to build, and without the Parkview program in place, and now middle school sports null at all. This is we really have to get that back in play, and I think that's going to happen this next coming season, which really is going to be 5 months after the end of our season now. Right. So it's going to happen real quick. And it's going to give us an opportunity to make sure that we got our feeder programs in place across the board, not just in Cranston, but really across the board. So what went on this week was, it seemed generally the Division II and Division III matches were taking place on Wednesday, and the Division I matches were taking place on Thursday. So just to give you a rundown for the coaches that are listening and wondering and didn't get the stats on what's going on. And I know, Glenn, that you're big into track. You're actually one of the advisors with track. So what's going on? who's missing what, not generally, names or teams, but what do you see being failed across the board on the part of the coaches that needs to be input and when it needs to be input? If you can run over that real quick so these guys know, it'd be great.
Well, I just think it's for the proper promotion of our sport. I think it's critical that the scores get reported in a timely fashion. I mean, we have a general rule, we're supposed to be within 24 hours. Some guys have an easier time than others getting it in. And obviously we're trying to be lenient. This is not about let's yell at guys who don't have the scores in, but this is about promoting our own sport, because quite honestly, if we don't do it, who is going to? So I'd like to see guys, and I think, like I said, I think it's very important that guys do pay attention and do get the scores in when, within that 24-hour time window, and then also even the scores reported correctly with times that are in for pins or for falls. Or for a tech fall, and just have an accurate measurement, because again, even at the end of the season, whether it's this season or, a regular season, having all that information just makes seeding so much easier for our state tournament. So rather than get into it then, if you have that information posted from the beginning, it gives everyone a very clear picture of exactly what's going on. And versus when you see even scores from Mass or Connecticut or from anywhere, I don't think I've ever seen 000 listed for a pin time or for a tech fall or no score or just a 15-0. We need to promote our own sport. And like I said, if we don't do it, who is gonna? Like, if we don't take it seriously, how can we expect anyone else to? And that's something I'd like to see change. And again, I'm going to send out weekly reminders and try to, again, not make threats, but just remind people that this needs to get done for our benefit. This is for all of us, not just for individual teams or even divisions, but for everyone. It makes us all look better. So that's my goal.
Okay, and on matches, is it the home team's responsibility to put the scores in, even if it's a try? Or
we've gone back and forth with this. I think we went home teams, then we said winning teams. We've kind of gone back and forth, and to be honest, I'm not sure where it's landed. I know I have a separate program that I use. Everyone sees me walking around with my iPad, and no, I'm not watching, Family Guy reruns. I'm actually scoring my matches. And what the program, it's called Takedown. And what it allows you to do is at the end of scoring your match, I literally click 3 buttons and everything gets uploaded to track immediately. If I have Wi-Fi at the school, I do it before I even leave the school. If I travel to LaSalle, let's say, and we have our duel, before we hit the bus, those scores are uploaded already because I've kept everything. I understand not everyone, is going to utilize the same program, but it really is, it's not that difficult. And to be very blunt, it's our responsibility as coaches. So, I think it's something that I'm hoping that we get a little bit better at with the reporting. And again, it helps all of us when we're able to do that, soon after. But as far as whose responsibility, I'm not sure, because like I said, we have changed it over the years, going back over the last almost 20 years that I've been involved. It has gone back and forth from home team, but then what happens if the home team gets blown out? Then that guy doesn't want to call it in. So then we made it the winning team. I just I've gotten in a habit where, whether we win or lose, I'm uploading scores. So I don't know, maybe going into this year, there's just too much stuff going on, too many things to consider. So perhaps for next year, for next season, for the 21-22 season, that could be something that we get in writing again and discuss and just say, what do we want to do with this, guys? Who's responsible for reporting? I think it's always easier when the winning team reports. And then, the losing team should obviously check that. You should always double check your scores, make sure that they were reported correctly. We've all made mistakes, all of us, myself included, where we put the wrong name TV kid in. And obviously we need everyone to get the proper PowerPoints, and we want to make sure that all of our records are accurate. So, that's something that I'm sure, again, there was not this year was not the time to bring all that stuff up preseason, but perhaps for next year we can reiterate that and, kind of get everybody on the same page again as far as who's responsible for reporting.
Right. Okay. Well, that's important in this case of our last meeting. I mean, we don't have to worry about any of that. I am watching Family Guy. See, we were not the home team, and we didn't win a match. Very close matches. Again, a lot to work on, but I think we should definitely have that pinpointed so we know who's going to put it in. Because if everyone's like, "Oh, is it the home team?" And both guys or coaches are like, "Hey, it's him. Let him deal with it." We got it. We got to know that. So maybe we could send out an email to all the coaches, just talking about really defining who should be entering in, and then maybe even just send out that link to that tutorial again. So it's in their face. They go through it. They know how to run it. Because I got to tell you, the track system is not the easiest navigation in the world. In fact, if you go one wrong or a couple wrong things, you're back to signing in again. So
we had that issue with quite a few guys this year, and a lot of guys asked me why did they create a new password for me? Why can't I just use last year because it was already saved in my computer or whatever? And that, unfortunately, I don't know the answer for that. I don't know why they.
And I think everybody has it. Hopefully by now. But I mean, even if you go to season teams again, instead of going back and keeping you in, it boots you out and you have to re-sign in. So not the easiest navigation. We understand that. So maybe a link to a explanation again, or 20-minute tutorial of how to navigate through that. Because Glenn, some of these guys are just not going to do that. But if it's in their face, it's just something they're going to click on and maybe kind of put it all together. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll get back into what's going on and some of the scores across the league. Who's winning, who's losing, who's obviously down with the numbers, and who's the powerhouses not only for the teams but for the wrestlers. So hang tight. We'll be right back. This is Snap Down Wrestling, and we'll be right back with you in a second.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, we're back with Snap Wrestling, Fans Only Sports Network. I'm Tommy Lynch, your host. I'm here with Tio Riccio, Glenn Castilla, and Rob Razzo. And we're talking first week of wrestling. Speaking of which, let me get into the results of this past week. On Wednesday, you had Division 2 and Division 3. These are the results that I have. And again, there are some missing due to the fact that there maybe have been some confusion on who's supposed to input it, whether it's the home team or what. But Wednesday on May 12th, Division 2, we have Tollgate over South Kingston, 54-12. All right. And I think, Glenn, they're in the same boat as you. In fact, I think even less. I think South Kingston only has 2 wrestlers, which, I've been a coach over there at West for a long time. You know, I've never seen that in South Kingston. At least they've always had some numbers up over 15 to 18. East Providence 36, Cranston East 8, which, you know, to me that means your 3 wrestlers you had a tech fall and a decision. Is that right?
Yeah, East, we actually had, or against East Providence, we had 2 major decisions.
2 majors. Okay.
We had a 10-0 decision and a 13-0 decision.
Okay. So major decision, that's 4 points. And that's a score margin of 7 or greater. For those of you that don't know that, I know there's some confusion during our match with some of our commentary when we ran that. So East Providence 36, Classical 36. Is that right? Did they actually tie?
I believe so. That was after we had left, but I believe it was.
Okay. Now they keep that as a tie, or do they go to some criteria of?
No, unfortunately, in Rhode Island, we decided a long time ago to keep it as a tie, which I'll be honest does not sit well with me. I'd like to use the National Federation list of criteria and determine a winner. In fact, when we used to have the dual meet states, I kept track of all the weekly PowerPoints. I would send out a weekly sheet, and every time I saw a tie, I would cringe because it just made my job a lot harder with tallying the points up. But yeah, that's something I would like to see change, that we as a coaches association, and if we could bring that to the state and just say we would like to determine, you know, outcomes of matches. If it ends in a tie, let's go to the national criteria and just decide it.
Yeah, there's several different criteria that go along with it, including, you know, first team to score, including, you know, first penalty. I mean, there's so many criteria that falls into play there to end a tiebreaker. Even if, let's say, that it wasn't a tie, but then there was a misconduct where there was an ejection, even, you know, there's points awarded at that point, you know. So there's so much criteria, and I think, you know, they should definitely, I'm in agreement with you, go back to making it not a tie. All right. So Classical 35, Cranston East 12, Burrillville 36, Barrington 34. That was a real close match. Burrillville 51, Central 30, Barrington 60, Central 24. Okay, so it's kind of a real mixed match of winning and losing there. That was Division 2. Division 3, Situate 47, Westerly 24, Situate 54, Tolman 24, Westerly 24, Tolman 24. Again, another tie situation, which could be resolved pretty easily. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't take much to just decide and know what the next level of criteria is to end that tie. Exeter West Greenwich 42, Johnston 28. Exeter West Greenwich 36, Juanita Sanchez 15. Johnston 36, Juanita Sanchez 24. All right, so those are the Wednesday matches from Division 2, Division 3. Division 1, actually Division 2 duel, there was a duel. It was supposed to be a try, and that was between Pilgrim, Smithfield, and where are we at with Division 2? Lincoln, I believe it was. Lincoln's out, right?
Yeah.
They do not have a team.
No, they opted out. They were the first ones to opt out.
Okay. So it ended up being a dual meet on Friday, which was supposed to be Wednesday, got kicked over to Friday. Smithfield 36 and Pilgrim 21. Moving before that, Thursday on the 13th, Cumberland 41, actually 40, Cranston West 39, and then Hope versus Cranston West 45, Cranston West 33, Hope 42, Cumberland 26. So Hope won both of those matches at that try. Pontigansett 66, Woonsocket 18, Pontigansett 54, Providence 24. North Providence 54, Woonsocket 24. So kind of flipped the script on that one. Hendricken 45, Charahoe 30. Hendricken 42, Coventry 36, and a real nail biter. Coventry 39, Charahoe 38, another real nail biter. Some great matches there. And Mount Hope 46, and LaSalle 26. What was the other team you faced, Rob? Or was that just a duel? North Kingston. Did NK? What was the score on that one? Do you have that? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't remember the score of Mount Hope, North Kingstown. We lost to Mount Hope 46-26, and then we lost to North Kingstown 67-12. We're fielding 11 wrestlers right now. I know Glenn had spoke to him having 3, possibly 4, which is I feel for you. We have 11, and as some of the other teams, we're heavy at the 140 weight class. I have about 4 kids at 140 right now, which is tough.
Yeah, bumping around.
Yeah, you can only go so many weight classes up and whatnot, so it's tough. I feel for the guys, but I'm glad that I have the 11 that I have. They're committed to the sport.
Okay, speaking of which, how many weight classes can you bump, Glenn? Is it 2?
Just 1.
It's just 1.
So yeah, if you weigh in for 145, you're eligible for 145 and 152, and that's it.
Okay.
It used to be years ago you could go 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, because guys would jump 2 weight classes if they were strong enough. But yeah, they put an end to that.
Right. Yeah. No, Nunzio used to do that all the time.
Mr. Badway would always say, "Need you to wrestle heavyweight." My coach, I'm 171. Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
John Badway.
That would not happen. That can't happen. In fact, that did happen actually in the practice room at LaSalle. Not to bring up, the Fallon incident, and I know that's a tough situation, but I got to tell you, I used that in my own wrestling room when I see guys messing around 4 or 5 weight classes above. I'm like, well, I don't want to see that. I stopped that immediately because it's a very tough situation. You can have a tough kid like a Nunzio who gets thrown up to a heavyweight and really get hurt, so you can't do that. I don't know what that situation was back then at LaSalle, but who knows? I can't imagine the coaches would let that go. I mean, kids horse around on their own.
I wasn't in the room at the time. I wasn't. I had just came back to LaSalle as a football coach at the time. And the guys that were there, they're great coaches there, Joe Regnall and Jay Buffoni. And I think you have 2 caliber wrestlers who are both Division I wrestlers. I'm not in the room, so I can't speak from the experience. But Fallon, obviously, with his impressive resume, the same with Dante Del Bonis. Those guys are, and what happens when you're 2 top guys? They wanna scrap. They're competitors. And I remember when I was a wrestler at LaSalle, under Tim Klaus, and one of the best wrestlers in the state and was one of my teammates, Frankie Lombardo. He was 3-time All-Stater and 2-time finalist, state champ. He was 112 pounds barely as a sophomore, and he used to make his way to our heavyweight, who was easily if he wanted to. But at certain points, we would go through kind of like wrestling King of the Ring, so to speak, keep going until you got bumped out. And he would kind of purposely, I think, maybe get bumped out, but he could have embarrassed some of our heavier weights, tough as nails. And I think, like I said, 2 of those guys, they're top competitors. They probably want to push one another. And I don't want to speak for them or for any of the coaches. I think wonders of those, coaches and the staff. I think, unfortunate accidents happen and unfortunate situations, but obviously, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here as the head coach right now. So I'm just, I'm glad the program's recovering right now. We're working towards moving forward, trying to grow. Obviously, COVID has really slowed growth of any program up. Bumping up. I don't know when they changed that rule, and I know that in high school in the early 2000s, I had bumped up at least 2 weight classes on a few occasions. So I don't know if it's been recent or if that was one that maybe got slid through. I had some wrestle offs. I wanted a certain weight class, and the next thing you know, the coach was like, "Hey, can you go heavier?" And I had to go heavier, so it happened. But I don't know when the NFHS that's me. I want to say my sophomore, junior year. That's an old one there.
Yeah.
That's
Black and white. How old are you, man?
Yeah. They go for the classic look in the yearbook. I think I did have color pictures. That's my last high school match ever, and it's how ironic is that? LaSalle versus Hendricken right there, right?
Nice, yeah.
That was the 5th and 6th match my senior year, so I remember that match very well. Still have the
those that don't know. I mean, Coach Rob, the early mid 2000s, he was under Coach Klaus. You were 3 years at LaSalle coaching there, and you're back in 2017, trying to rebuild the program. You got a great feeder program, I think now in Willie Felix. In Louis Felix, who's actually he's still your assistant, and he's working with the middle school program when that comes back into play.
Yeah. So this is one of the things, like I love LaSalle, and I'm an alumni and everything. And I've coached in the public school. I coached high school football at Cumberland. I appreciate both sides of things, public and private. One of the things that I always try to put to rest, and Coach Hennessy's done a heck of a job out there at Hendricken, because we actually don't have feeder programs in private schools, and you can get kids from all over, and you do. And if you start winning, you do attract more. But, if we had youth programs, like LaSalle isn't a town. So some of the kids that grow up in some of these feeder programs get to go on to their high schools because they have that pride of it. It's like a grab bag sometimes. Who do we get? And the fact that we do now have a middle school, full-blown middle school, I pushed as soon as I got there. Hey, this will really help the program. We had state championship teams in the 60s, and, we want to get back to that. I said, we can't just hope that a wrestler walks through the door. We don't have that pedigree yet to just, attract the guys. So I pushed. We got the middle school program, and I had a great relationship with Louis Felix, and I had been bugging him for a long time to come out and coach. And
didn't you wrestle him back in the early 2000s?
My sophomore year, the first time we met up was he was a senior. He was a state finalist, and he was a state champ from a year or two before. And my sophomore year, we meet in the semifinals of a tournament in New Hampshire, and he beat me pretty good then. And then he ended my sophomore year campaign at the state tournament in the quarterfinals, I want to say, or he sent me into the losers bracket there. So I had a couple tough goes with Lewis, but it's funny. He's one of those guys that he's very his personality is very infectious and is good to be around him. He's always got a smile on his face. He's a very positive guy. So, we had rolled in the same circles, no pun intended, socially. And we ended up, he got me into, after my college time wrestling was done, he got me into MMA and whatnot. And we just kept a friendship through, so that's me and former All-Stater Sean Soriano there, who's in the UFC fight card now. Sean and I got into MMA through Louis Felix. So he brought us all together. There was probably 4 or 5 more wrestlers in that room because, Louis got us in there and, he said, hey guys, come on, this is fun. And watching him, Louis was, very impressive with what he did. But wrestlers always do well in MMA. So there's no surprise that a guy like Sean, has climbed his way to the top ranks into the,
Right.
He's getting paid for that, and that's
Yeah,
kind of-
Louis Felix, of Cranston East alumni.
Yes.
I
Sean
remember
was Mount Pleasant.
Mhm.
So, but Lewis, he's an East guy, and we battled back in the day with East. Before Coach Castiglio was there, we had battled with them, but we also had an open door policy. They used to come to our practices. We used to go to theirs. They have a great wrestling room. I mean, you wanna get on weight. You're in the right spot over there. That's for sure.
And you won your fair share of tournaments. Great wrestler. In of yourself. You go through high school. I heard you went to Sacred Heart. I'm wearing a Sacred Heart shirt right now. It was sent to me by a good friend, Coach John Clark over there. But you went when the program was really kind of in its infancy. It's really early on.
So I enrolled at Sacred Heart, and there was about, I want to say, like 1,500 or 2,000 students there, and I just didn't think the school was for me. So I never I had the opportunity to be a walk-on there. It was going to be something I was looking forward to, but my mind was set on a bigger school and possibly playing football. So I came home to Rhode Island and went to URI, and lo and behold, I end up wrestling on the URI club team, kind of saying to myself, well, wow, I could have been in at the ground level with, a program. And when you get in a Division I room, it doesn't matter who you are. You end up, you can really get better because the guys around you are so much better. And you get better by wrestling. So I kind of regret that. I look back and I say, you know what? And that's why I love about Coach Clark is, he invites everybody to that room. He wants, guys from all over, and that's awesome because those guys are going to get better, being in that room. And he's got such a big team, and he's a great guy.
Right, and for the viewers and Coach Nunzio and Coach Castillo, to give you an idea of how much that rings true, this year, John Clark and Sacred Heart had 48 wrestlers on the team. This coming season, they're looking at 74 on the team. So he is building that program, and he's also building the women's wrestling program as well. He's just a huge influence over there at Sacred Heart, and doing amazing things and putting up amazing numbers. Let's take a real quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more a little about what's going on in the state, who the top teams are, who the top wrestlers are, what's going on with Fine and Grifka, and who's where. So we'll be right back with that. This is Snapdown Wrestling on Fans Only Sports Network. We'll be right back. Hang in there.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago,
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, we're back, Family Sports Network with Snapdown Wrestling and Coach Riccio, Coach Castilla, and Coach Razzo. And we are talking wrestling, we're talking top, we're talking who's who. And right now, before I get into that, I want to talk about the laser. All right. Here, we're lucky, Glenn Nunzio. We're really lucky. We have a great AD in Mike Trafficante who got us this. I mean, I sent this to Tom Galligan, our president of our Coaches Association, months and months ago, saying, hey, look at this. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be great. And before it teamed up with Cliff Keen, before it was announced it was going to be the official mat cleaner of the NCAA Division I National Championship, which there was not one case that came out of that tournament. And, you know, we're fortunate enough that our AD actually bought us one each. Cranston West, Cranston East, one of us each. And that's a big deal because, first of all, we're doing tri-meets, and it's hard enough, you know, coordinating that. Now we're running on 2 different mats, but the Rhode Island Interscholastic League expects us to clean the mat between each match. Okay. Let's talk about a regular mop and bucket, okay? The old school way that we used to do things. And I was an expert at it because I used to do it at wrestling camp all the time because I was always in trouble. So they would make me do it because I was always clowning and trying to make, you know, some type of scene out of a boring situation. And let's face it, you know, wrestling camp is and can be boring. So I was in trouble a lot. But mopping the mats, I could do it very efficiently, very quickly. I'll consider myself an expert at it. And even at that, the mats, start and finish, 10 minutes, okay? Kennedy bucket list mop comes along where you got the container of the solution right on the mop, and it spreads it down the pad almost like a Swiffer wet mop, right? Okay, great. But meanwhile, you're looking at really about 20 inches of space that you're covering. So it's 4 passes to get through a 6-foot section, right? Okay, now, but that's wet. Now that's got to dry. So it's taking me 8 to 10 minutes to do that mat. 8 if I'm going really quickly and I'm really know what I'm doing, but it's taking another 4 to 5 minutes for it to dry across the whole mat. So let's do the math on that. You're looking at 12 minutes in between each match. It's a 6-minute match. In some cases, you're going to get a 25, 30-second pinch. So what do you do? All right, Rob, what was your experience with that?
So now, mind you, I mean, I have 11 guys on my team, and you know, Mount Hope and North Kingstown have good sized teams, and you know, but we have 11 guys, and I told you I have about 4 at the same weight class, so we weren't wrestling, you know, a full lineup. And our tri meet that started at 6 o'clock, we left LaSalle at 11 o'clock at night.
Yes, so there you go.
So,
and you had a wet mop.
Two mats going. We had the regular, you know, the padded mop now, not, you know, not a cloth mop, but the, you know, the styrofoam, Velcro padded mats that you, mops that you have. And, you know, I tried to push it to our athletic director, and I told him it's, you know, it's more than just this season, because first of all, the what it does for the skin diseases and stuff, it's like 99% effective. I remember hearing on Impetigo, which is great. You know, like we've had, every wrestling program has had some sort of skin issue one way or the other, no matter how clean you try to keep your facilities and you tell your guys to clean up. But seeing that there's something that technology has brought us here for a reason, you know, and with everything going on, that makes it so much more effective. Like, why not adopt this? It's not like it's just going to be used this one year and then thrown away. You know?
Right, because I mean, it's such a long day. I mean, first of all, we get tested before we get on the bus, so that's a process in and of itself. So now we get to the school, we do the weigh-ins, we wait an hour before we wrestle, and I got to tell you, our tri-meet didn't last any longer than any other tri-meet that we've ever done in the past when we didn't have to clean the mats. Literally, it took us a minute between each match to clean and sterilize the mats, Nunzio?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. As long as the battery's charged, you're good. And you charge it between matches, you're good.
That's
Right, and
awesome. I
Nunzio,
wish we had that.
Oh, it was so great. I
Yeah.
mean, literally 1 minute. We did the whole
Yeah.
surface area. It's at
Yep.
walking speed. It was great. And Nunzio's like, hey, what do you want from me? He was on the program. Oh, what is this? That's Nunzio back in the day.
I knew that was going to come up sometime.
Hey, what do you want from me? But he was running that, who was going to, be cleaning the mats. And the kids didn't mind doing it because it's fun. It's very quick. It's very effective. And, it got it done. And we were out of there at regular time. I mean, we started our match at 5 o'clock. We were out of there by just a little past 8. And, it was a try meet.
And you can tell it works. It gives off that like a smell of what the lights do. I mean, you can tell it's doing something.
Yeah,
definitely,
for sure, and working really well. So we were really excited to have that with us for the matches. Glenn, you had 3 guys. There's pretty quick matches anyway, but we traveled with us, so we brought ours to Cumberland, and we actually did a live stream, so you can see that live stream even still if you want to study up on Cumberland Hope or Cranston West. We don't care because I'm changing my strategy and style each week, so I don't mind that people watch and look, but you're going to be able to catch that at www.fansonlysports.com, and that's archived there for you to be able to catch all that action. And it was very exciting. We had some great matches, some exciting matches. So anybody that wants to check that out and study some film on Cranston West Hope or Cumberland, definitely go and check that out. And we don't mind that at all. Nunzio, that was a nice picture of you, buddy. I got to say.
That's when I had hair. I miss it. And about 40 pounds lighter, 50 pounds lighter.
40 pounds lighter. Well, I just have this stuff archived, so I got to do it real quick. What about this one? Oh, look at this guy. Nunzio again wrestled for Hope back in the day. A great wrestler in and of himself, and really just a great guy and a great coach to have and a positive energy. We're so happy to have you in the room. And part of the Cranston West wrestling team. But it's tough, man. It's tough across the board. We lost a lot of guys to lacrosse and baseball. Some really good starters. And everything is down across the board. But some teams are still able to put it together and keep their team to where they have a full roster. I don't know how they do it. I mean,
we lost our seniors. My 3 seniors that I was supposed to have, they didn't have a conflict with another sport. Their problem was, well, coach, I'm done with school May 26th, and wrestling's going to go possibly till almost July. So, I just want to enjoy that time, and I'm like, they want to work or they want to work out. And I'm like, well, working out, you can be in wrestling practice and you're going to work for the rest of your life, so you might as well get this in. But I get it. They want to graduate. And I remember where I was my senior year when I graduated, at the beach all the time with my friends, and working at night and then having fun. But it's kind of like that bittersweet thing, because I looked to, 2 of those guys to have been my captains, and, they would have definitely contributed. I think I lost one of the kids that would have been a state place finisher, at the 195 weight class. And it's unfortunate, but, we got to hope for next year to be back in the normal time slot.
Right. Again, that'll be 5 months away. Let's talk a little bit on weight classes and the best across the league, and I would have to say, there's some good wrestlers, but Glenn, who would you say would you think would be the best wrestlers out there right now, at least top 2?
Well, I think I think it's interesting. Last time I checked or counted, I think we have roughly half of our state finalists returning who were underclassmen. It was either 12 or 14 of the 28 total. So I think that says something that, obviously the quality of wrestling in the States, just keeps improving. It's not just the upperclassmen every year, and at various weights, not just, not just at the lower weights where traditionally you have younger kids, lighter kids, but
Right.
top to bottom. I mean, as far as, I don't know, I'd hesitate a little bit to name maybe individuals, but certainly teams. I would say my odds-on favorites probably going to be, I would think, Pontigansett, at least on paper prior to the season. They were returning a lot of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a lot of
100%.
plates winners. They were pretty loaded.
They were, and I don't even think they had a senior last year. Well, was it only Michael Joyce? Wait, who was their seniors last year? Is Michael Joyce returning, or is he?
Who's back?
Jake is back.
Well, now he's got 3, right? So there's 3 boys, so he's got
Right. Well, Jacob was a freshman and won the state, so he's looking like he's going to win possibly 4.
He's a possible 4-timer.
Barring an upset.
Let me see. No, Michael's a junior. No, Michael's back.
Michael's back this year, but he's already committed.
Right.
Brown, correct?
To Brown.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's back.
That speaks volumes because education is big,
Yeah.
That's crazy that Michael's back.
Obviously
he was a finalist last year. So he lost to Fallon, who's gone. He was a senior last year.
Pound for pound, I guess you would have to argue Nick Fine, returning as a senior for Hendricken, who's just coming off a national championship. Obviously,
at 170.
I mean, he's a very decorated wrestler, and he's won his fair share of tournaments. He's a tough customer, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nick Fine was your 160-pound state champion last year. He was your 138-pound champion the season before, the 2019 season. He was a finalist in the 2018 season and lost to Mason Clark. All right. But so 3-time finalist, 2-time state champion, returning this season, now returning national champion. So I would have to say, arguably, Nick Fine, number 1 in the state as far as our top wrestler. Now, the match that everybody wants to see, obviously, because he won the nationals at 170, but he's coming back at 182. I'm going to tell you that right now because there's no reason for him to suck weight. He's already committed. All right, so doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't have to suck weight for his senior year coming back and the quality of wrestler he is. The only other question that remains is Grifka going 182 this year? Because as you know, Corey Grifka from Mount Hope was the 182-pound state champion last season and the season before. So this would be his 3rd season at 182. He also being a 3-time finalist, 2-time state champion, only losing to Ben Doherty at 160 as a freshman. So I want to see that match. I don't know about in the States. I think this can be decided in a dual meet setting or a tri-meet setting. But listen, guys, give it to us. All right. So Hennessy and Francis, let's try to make this happen because I know they're right around the 182. And let's see where that ends up because I want to see that match. Grifka's great. Fine, obviously, in my opinion, best wrestler in the state this year in Rhode Island, any weight class. So I definitely want to see that match. So, guys, if you're listening, let's make that happen and decide because one's going to go up because each one of them should be 3-time state champions. All right. I don't know if you want to go on a vision quest here, but I'd say let's try it out in the try. If it's close, go for the vision quest. If it's not, hey, forget about it. Split your weight classes. Have one go 195, one 182, and finish out 3-time state champions and join the elite crew.
I'd love to see, there's one other name I'd throw in the mix that I'd love to see wrestle, and I don't know where his exact weight is. I know he hasn't wrestled yet, but to throw Faria in the mix with that too, I think all 3 of those guys together, I know, Fine coming off a national championship, and he wrestled pretty much lights out in the New Englands last year. He had, a tough bout, I think, in the semis, I want to say. But, he's a great wrestler. But I think all three of those guys, the one thing you look at is they all have very different styles of wrestling. Grifka is such a strong and athletic kid that, he dictates what he wants in a match and he goes after it. And it's kind of ironic because that's pretty similar to his coach, and Fine is just like, he's a magician out there. He's so smooth, and you look and you're like, oh, wow, it's 15-0 already. Like, how did that happen? And then Faria, it's just, he's like the blue collar worker out of that group. Like, you look at him and you're like, wow, like he's been in so many tough matches his career, and he's been in so many like really good spots. And you're like, he's held on, he's held his weight, and he's committed to a Division I program out there in Kent State too, and I think those three guys, no matter how you mix them up, I think everybody wants to see Fine and Grifka, but I'd be just as intrigued to see, Faria and Grifka, or Faria and Fine, combination as well.
Yeah. And then, the reason why, Grifka would be so intriguing there for me is because he's been at 182. This would be his third year. So he's used to that weight class. He's really settled into that, whereas Fine has come up from, 36 and jumped, 38 and jumped way up to 60 and, now jumped again because he's put on so much size and not really sucking weight. And he's really coming to his own. And I got to say, and I know, Greg and seen him wrestle at Cranston East back in the mid 80s. So he comes from a great wrestling family and background, but, seeing him come into his own, and because I've seen him before coming up, to me, he had that baby face, skinny kid, had that Danny Smith level of leverage and massive strength for being a thin kid. But now he's not a thin kid anymore. In fact, his whole face structure has changed. He's a man. He's coming to his own. His body size is structured. He's out for bear. So, either way, Faria, Grifka, I just love to see someone test them and see what happens either way. Man,
a lot of guys I feel like, and I don't want to quote my time frame or your time frames and stuff like that, but I think like so many kids nowadays and coaches have kind of gotten caught up with perfection and that undefeated, or there's no, there's no shame if you go out and you battle. Somebody's got to lose, unfortunately. But when you go to college, that's what you're going to get. You're going to test yourself every single day against the best of the best from all over the country. So if I had a guy that was of that caliber, I would love to have him challenge the next guy. And, obviously in a smart scenario, we're not jumping 2 weight classes. But push those guys. If I'm the coach, I think, hey, push them because we don't know if we're going to have a state tournament. So if it's a dual meet, push them. Hey, you guys are already committed to your colleges. Your reputations are what they are. No one's going to be like, oh, remember that time he lost to so-and-so? They're going to be like, that was a heck of a match, because no one's getting pinned in the first period and no one's getting teched out of all three of those guys if they wrestle.
Right. Not everybody can be, a Cale Sanderson, was, obviously a 4-time NCAA national champion, undefeated, the only one ever to do that. There he is. Nice. I love that.
BU wrestling camp, Coach Klaus. I went to that camp, and Cale was our guest counselor, and his brother Cody was my actual counselor for the week. I want to say that was my sophomore or junior year in high school. So,
yeah. But everybody wants to be including like a Kerry Colat, who was a 2-time NCAA champion and was not impressed or happy with himself because he wanted to be that undefeated 4-time national champion. But let's go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back. We'll wrap it up. This is Snapdown Wrestling with Tommy Lynch, and we'll be right back to wrap things up.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly, When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer. A game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, welcome back to Snapdown Wrestling, produced by Fans Only Sports Network. My show on tonight, Nick LeBlanc. And I'm here with Nunzio Riccio, my assistant, Glenn Castilla, head coach of Cranston East, and Rob Razzo, head coach of LaSalle. Guys, I'm so glad you guys came on the show tonight, and looking forward to the rest of the season, seeing how it plays out. I'm looking forward to our match, Rob, on the I guess it was supposed to be the 10th against us, you, and Charahoe, but that is when Cranston West Senior Prom is, so we're going to intentfully we're moving that to Wednesday, June 9th. But I'm still waiting for approval from the AD. I don't think there'll be a problem with that, but we got enough time, if there is, to really finagle around and change it. So looking forward to that match. Glenn, we would usually have a city championship, East versus West, the classic rival. I'm an East alumni. I still take a little bit of heat from my Cranston East brothers from back in the day.
I'm sure.
But, you were already in there. So, I'm still in Cranston, being that I traveled all over just to be back in Cranston and to be coaching a Cranston wrestling team is like a dream come true for me. So perhaps next season we will get together on a city championship. I know that the middle school will be back in play. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a separate thing of Parkview, Bain, and Weston Hills, or a collaborative of the three, and really try to promote up that end of it to make sure that we got feeder programs. Because back in the day, the feeder program for East was Parkview and half from Bain, half. So that school was a split school. Half would go to West, half would go to East. But back then, late 90s, early 2000s, when Felix and everybody was coming through, and Ruben Ray and Alex and Cuccio and some of the big time names, McGinley, Scotty, yep, and the Ricos and all that were coming through from Cranston East. I was head coach at Parkview, and I was a second assistant coach at Cranston East. So the feeder program thing is very important. So if you don't have that, it's something that it's so hard to be a winning team if you don't have that. So let's work towards getting that back in Cranston, getting that back across the board in wrestling, period, and see where it takes us. But I'm all about the competition. So with that being said, guys, again, Glenn, Rob, Coach Nunzio, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's been a great show. And if you want to see the commentary of the quality of the Tri-Meet with Hope and Cumberland, go to the website that I talked to you about, the www.fansonlysports.com, and check that out. There's a lot of other games on there that you'll be able to thumb through and have a good time with watching some high school sports. All right. And until next Monday, we'll see you then at 9:00 each and every Monday night, for the most part. That is with Snapdown Wrestling. And I'm Tommy Lynch, the host again, guys. Thank you very much for being on the show tonight. Everybody out there, be safe and keep plugging away. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You got it.